Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Made. With me today is Jen Jones, and we are talking about Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, Season 3, Episode 11, Past Tense. It's funny they said Episode 11 because it really was two episodes, two-parter, Part 1 and
Yes.
Part 2. And my guest is continually building her business, which is based on her own personal healing journey and experience after a motor vehicle accident changed her life's purpose. Doctors told her that she was going to die from her condition, diagnosed as CRPS, which stands for Complex Regional Pain Syndrome, aka the worst pain condition known to man, and spent the next decade mostly bedridden in profound agony, requiring a wheelchair or Lofstrand crutches to get around. Now living with CRPS for over 26 years, she shares useful tools that she's learned and experienced to cope and function each day. Her programs and courses are geared toward children and families, focused on health, wellness, food as medicine, nutrition, and lifestyle practices. She calls herself a healing journey spiritual Sherpa. Jen Jones's mission is to help illuminate the healing path for others and keep them entertained with good stories and lessons on the adventure. Jen is also an inventor, creating the first ever professionally manufactured Ayurveda games and color-coded workbooks, and I definitely want to hear about that later, and is now the largest creator of holistic health and wellness games in the world. She is using her psychology degree, teaching background, and additional certifications in Ayurveda, holistic nutrition, adults and kids yoga, life coaching, and Reiki master teacher to develop a certification program for kids yoga instructors. The program features games, activities, curriculum, and handouts to make learning fun and digestible. She is definitely a woman on a mission. It's funny because one of my questions was going to be, what do you think is your life's purpose? And I think you know that. I think we just,
yeah. I am
welcome.
definitely there. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and thank you for everything that you're doing, and truly for watching Star Trek as well. I mean, that is, you went where a lot of women and a lot of people don't go. That is a Star Trek reference. So thank you. You both to go where no one's gone before. Yeah,
I do know that one. I am not a Trekkie. I'm not anti-Trekkie, but I am not a Trekkie. I told Jen the reruns, the really old ones were always on when I was little on our TV, and I would, pop in and watch it sometimes. I really liked their outfits. And one year in my 20s, me and my friends were the Star Trek girls from the 60s, I think. And I had the mustard yellow dress. I had the blue and the mustard. Anyway, I wonder where that is because it was a really nicely made dress. I don't know what happened to it. Anyway, but this was probably
that is something to find. People will pay money for that these days.
I know.
Don't tell them, they'll keep it.
I know.
That's me.
I have a feeling I don't have it in my possession. But I will say this was the first full episode, two-parter, that I've ever watched of Star Trek. And I really, really, really enjoyed it. I would watch more. I really liked it a lot. And I will point out before I start the recap, I thought it was really cool that they go back in time to 2024. So I thought that was really cool. And I'm happy you picked this two-parter episode. So let's get into it. I got this recap from Wikipedia. These two episodes aired, according to them, January 2nd and then the 9th in 1995.
Yes.
And they're talking about 2024. It's very cool. So I will start off. So when Commander Sisko, Dr. Bashir, and Jadzia, oh my gosh, I almost forgot how to say her name, Dax, beam down to Earth from the Defiant, an accident occurs and they materialize in San Francisco in the year 2024. Sisko and Bashir are found by a pair of police officers. I just have to point out, one of them has a full-on New York accent. Staten Island. I'm like, San Francisco. Just funny.
Yeah, that is an astute observation. Absolutely. And we're both East Coast girls. So we know, that Jersey, New York accent.
Yeah, he was very tough, exaggerated. Man.
He was a teamster from the East Coast.
So those two officers believe them to be vagrants and warn them to get off the streets. they are escorted to a, quote, sanctuary district, a walled-off ghetto that is used to contain the poor, the sick, the mentally disabled, and anyone else who cannot support themselves. Sisko realizes they have arrived just days before the Bell riots, a violent confrontation in the sanctuary district that Sisko recalls as a watershed moment in human history. Dozens will be killed, including a man named Gabriel Bell, the leader of the demonstration. Bell will become a hero because of his self-sacrifice while protecting hostages, and public attitudes toward the disadvantaged will begin to change. Unable to find a building to sleep in and unwilling to get involved with a nascent movement to air the residents' grievances for fear of altering history, Sisko and Bashir live in the street. I just have to point out, this is a dopey thing that I noticed. Bashir, they are walking, and it's when they kind of first get there and they're walking around, and Bashir and Sisko are walking, and he says, "Are humans any different than Cardassians or Romulans?" And I was like, Cardassians? So I swear I said Kardashians, like that pronunciation, everything. I was like, wait a minute. Now I watch it with the captions on because I don't know if I'm old. Now I'm just used to reading everything. So I couldn't believe it. I was like, seriously? The Kardashians? But it was spelled Cardassians. I just couldn't believe you said Kardashians. I was like, what the heck? Anyway.
Okay, so I am laughing so hard because I have to tell you that this is like a huge joke. Because I'm on the Star Trek chat boards. Okay, right? So for the new people that I've introduced to Deep Space Nine, oh my God, they're like, they're talking about the Kardashians. And I'm like, and this is such a joke within our realm of like, the Kardashians are a race, and they're humanoid, but they've got lots of scales, and okay, so but honestly, that is the thing. So the fact that you just said that was so perfect for a first time watcher, right? Deep Space Nine, because that is what people say, and then I'll come back to share with our friends online of like, oh my God, I have experienced this again, and it's not the Kardashians.
I mean, I know it's not. I just could not. That's a crazy coincidence. Like,
yes,
that's
I know. Yes, that is, especially because it's 2024. So that this episode is talking about. So yeah, I mean that would have been crazy from 1995 when it aired.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a thing with new watchers. Okay, so yes, they are a race from Cardassia.
Okay. Meanwhile, Dax is found by a prominent businessman, Chris Brenner, who arranges accommodations for her. So another note I have. I thought it was interesting, and I'm not criticizing, I'm just making an observation, that the woman in the group is kind of like, basically she gets rescued. Like she just gets rescued, and she's not taken advantage of, and she does, though. She crawls through that sewer system. So I kind of feel like, she does something tough, even though she looks absolutely fine and beautiful. But
she's
I
tough.
Just thought it was,
She's a Klingon. She's actually a Klingon warrior. So she, with that batleth that I have hanging in my tree, that 3D printed batleth there. Yeah, so she knows how to fight with that. She fights with Klingon warriors. So, but she's also on her eighth incarnation of life. So that because of a symbiote that she has within her body. So that moves on. But then you take all the memories and the lessons and the teachings of each person that you're with. So by the time she's gotten to this point, she's over 300 years old, very wise, extremely trained in many, like we'll say, martial arts. But that's why she gets away with so much, is because before she played this role, she was a model. Like a model or something.
I recognized her. Yeah. I don't remember her name, but I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Terry Farrell. Yeah. So you are correct. But I mean, so she is bad. So I'm, like bad A. So I'm glad you recognize that, because she did climb through the sewers to get to her friend. She didn't care.
And she didn't give up. Yeah. Or anything.
Right.
So later, attending an affluent party as his guest, she realizes that Sisko and Bashir may have been taken into the sanctuary district and persuades him to help confirm her suspicions. Within the district, a fight breaks out when Sisko and Bashir resist attempts to take the ration cards they have been issued. A man who comes to their aid is killed, and Sisko and Bashir discover, after the fact, that he was Bell. Sisko quickly realizes that due to their presence, the course of history stands to be radically changed, since Bell is no longer present to safeguard the hostages in the historical narrative. I mean, my palms are sweating during this. Like, I'm just like, I knew they were going to be okay, but I was like, this is so stressful. This stuff stresses me out. Okay. Back in the 24th century, the crew left on the Defiant, Major Kira, Odo, and Chief O'Brien lose contact with Earth as all traces of the Federation suddenly vanish. Bell's death has radically altered the timeline. O'Brien calculates several possible time periods, and this part was funny, in which Dax, Sisko, and Bashir might have arrived, and Kira and O'Brien begin transporting to one period at a time in order to search for them. That was very funny. Like, they showed up in, like, it looked like the 20s, and then it was definitely, like, with the 60s. It was great. Back in the past, the district residents begin to riot, and one group storms the processing center and takes the employees hostage. Sisko and Bashir return there, and Sisko assumes Bell's identity and takes leadership of the revolt in an effort to keep the hostages safe. So that was part one. So now we get to part two. Sisko tries to ensure that no one gets hurt during the standoff, while at the same time understanding that Bell must die at the end of it. He makes demands to the governor, insisting they be given airtime to express their grievances. They kept calling the internet the net. I mean, how would they know? But like, it was just funny. He wants the sanctuary
because
district.
That was 1995.
I know.
For people out there that don't know, we didn't have the internet. I mean, we had dial-up.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. He wants the sanctuary districts closed and their residents to be given opportunities to earn an honest living. Dax watches news coverage of the riots from Brenner's office, knowing Sisko and Bashir are caught in the sanctuary district and are in danger, and heads down to find them. She sneaks along an underground sewer line, but she is caught and delivered to the employment center to explain herself. Sisko and Bashir meet with her. So that guy, Brenner, basically, I mean, he really helped. He did really help her out. Like, didn't he like, what did he do for her? Something with an ID card. I don't remember. There was something. He did a lot. He really did do a lot for her. That he risked his booty for her. So
that's why she had to be hot, and it couldn't have been.
That's right. She had to be hot. And then they're like, I like your tattoos. We're not allowed to have them anymore. Like, she has the markings on her face. Let's see. Sisko
Those
Bashir
are her spots that indicate that she's Trill. That's from her planet. So they're not actually tattoos.
No, I knew they weren't really tattoos.
Oh, you know? Oh,
yeah.
Okay,
no,
okay.
I knew that. She was like, yeah. Okay. I totally knew.
Tattoo.
Yeah. So Sisko and Bashir meet with her in secret to explain why they must stay until the crisis is over. She sneaks back out, certain that Brenner will be able to order a terminal activated at the processing center so that he does all that so the leaders of the revolt can tell their stories and have them broadcast worldwide, which was the main force that turned public opinion against the sanctuary districts and led to their abolition. I had to print this out, by the way. I was not reading this off my phone. I would have been blind. After several fruitless attempts to locate their fellow officers, Kira and O'Brien finally transport themselves to the correct year and contact Dax. They stand by to rescue Sisko and Bashir if they can. Having rejected the hostage takers' demands, the governor sends in a series of National Guard units to end the riots once and for all. The first unit storms the processing center and kills many rioters, and Sisko is shot while protecting one of the hostages. Bashir finds the wound to be non-fatal, and the two are horrified to see the bodies littering the streets of the sanctuary district as the riots subside. The two police officers who first confronted Sisko and Bashir agree to plant the pair's identification cards on two of the victims, and also to tell the truth about these events. All 5 Starfleet officers beam back to the Defiant in the 24th century and find that the timeline has been fully restored, except for the fact that Bell's entry in the historical records now shows Sisko's picture instead of his own.
Yes.
Now, wait, I had one question for you.
Sure.
So at the end, you know how they just said the officers agree to like switch the ID card so it makes it look like he died. Are they also trying to say, or am I just overthinking this, that Gabriel Bell also might not have actually really died and that ID cards were also switched, or no? Or I'm just overthinking it?
No. It's a good question because, I mean, it's hard. See, in the Star Trek world, this is when they start to joke about, like, in Star Trek of messing with, temporal mechanics, right? And you do this in the past and this is going to happen in the present. And so this is kind of one of those situations, but Gabriel Bell was the first man. He was the man, and his image was actually the one that was in the encyclopedia. And he was the man that was killed intervening, trying to save them.
Right.
So then when the captain stepped into his place, he took his ID card. So when they took it, they said, no, he was definitely deceased.
Right.
But there wasn't a matter of any possibility that he would be alive. After that point, like they had to make sure that he was known to be dead, because also within his death is what caused other people to rise up to realize the travesties that were going on in the sanctuary cities.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So why did you pick this series and this episode?
Been a Trekker since I was a little one, like collecting Star Trek stickers since I was like 9. Okay. I mean, like I was into it since I was a child. When Deep Space Nine came around, something about it spoke with me. It spoke to me, and I was in college at the time. And then there was an episode, something about the captain definitely resonated with me, because it was during that time period of when these episodes were airing. This was in 95 and my accident was in 97. And when I just learned to meditate, like trying to help with the pain, mitigate some of the pain, there was an episode that aired, and he didn't want to accept that he was an emissary to their prophets of the woman who had the ridges on her nose. She's from a planet called Bashir. Okay, she had to wear the Band-Aid to cover it. She believes that he's an emissary. And the thing is his whole journey was, I am just this guy doing this job, to find out that his purpose in the world was so much bigger than he could ever know, and that his creation was actually divinely intentional, and his struggles were purposeful because they brought him to this, to who he was as this man. And so I had an experience, and if you ever want to do another Star Trek episode, there was an episode where he had a vision of what his future was to be. And so with that, I definitely resonated with the character even deeper because of my experiences with the healing journey. But this episode frightened me. When I was younger, I was just like, oh, that's crazy. That would never happen. But then when I started on the healing journey, it was 10 years after my accident. And I was walking again, and I was in Sedona for a month for the healing journey. And I was learning about reptilians and all kind of stuff I never learned about as an EMT in New Jersey. All right. So this is a whole other world. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And so I also learned about Agenda 21, and I was like, oh, there's a Star Trek episode about, the sanctuary cities and all of that. They've already talked about it. Then it progressed, and the deeper I went down the rabbit hole of the healing journey and the, what's in our food and what the chemtrails and you name it, and learning things that people would say they believe were conspiracy theory, but as time progresses, we're learning that it's true. The reason I wanted to share this episode with you, these 2 episodes with you and your audience, and discuss it, is because we're literally here at 2024. This is to take place August 30th and September 2nd. Now, I'm not saying that's what's taking place in our world. I'm saying in the story that the idea is okay, so something I took a few notes that I wanted to point out. So in the beginning, when he's speaking, the captain is speaking to the Ferengi, the man with the great big ears, and he's like, hey, you owe my buddy a favor. And he's like, well, we'll see what we could do. And he quotes, why did they quote for that small portion that he was in this episode? They selected 2 rules of acquisition, basically the rule book that his race runs by. And one of them was the 111th, which is treat people in your debt like family, exploit them. So if we see what's happening, not only in the story, but then if we can also look at what's happening to today, and especially the sanctuary city A was in San Francisco, if we see what's happening. So as time is moving on, and I'm like, just so your audience knows that I should share, I've watched this series 7 times through, plus then random episodes. So this is at least my 8th time watching, at least for this one, because there are a few that I pull out. Because I feel like every part of my healing journey, I also hear something different in the series, and I also perceive it differently. And I feel like because it speaks to me on so many layers, that it also reflects back my own personal evolution in my healing journey as to how I'm perceiving, and then also how I'm relating it to aspects of my life and even in the world currently. So the second one was the second he said, yes, but don't forget rule of acquisition 217, you can't free a fish from water. And I felt that was so important of how they set up the whole rest of this storyline, because this is exactly what they're trying to tell you is, foreshadowing of what to expect. But I think that it's also something for us to look at as a people and say, how close are we getting to this? Because the very last line at the end, or toward the end of, how do we stop this from happening again? And then Bashir says, how could they have let things get so bad? And then he said, the captain said, I wish I had an answer. And that's pretty much how they closed it. It's like, yeah, I feel like, we wish we had an answer too. We don't want it to get to that point. Right. So, and something they were talking about, we need to start pulling together to, to get out of here and to get organized. And I also love the symbolism from my perspective of his name is Gabriel Bell. So Gabriel is the messenger in the Bible that gave information to Mary that you're going to carry God's child. You are going to be the leader. Right. Gabriel Bell, yep. Liberty Bell, Bell, we know that as freedom. Yep. So his name, literally the symbolism, and sometimes some of the Star Trek episodes are deep with symbolism. Right. So, but I've seen it so many times that I already know the lines. Now I can pick into like deeper things, some juicy stuff out. So I also wrote down the net as well that they mentioned. The net. Yes. But the reason I chose this, did you want me to tell you now why I chose these episodes? Okay. So after my accident, and I was, bedridden for the majority of 10 years, you're going to die, never going to walk again, etc. I've had a lot of challenges since then in overcoming, but with alternative medicine and a variety of different practices, I've gotten myself to this point where I've gone through 10 major detoxes off of narcotics, benzos, and different types of pharmaceuticals that were prescribed to me. I had gained 170 or 150 pounds while I was bedridden, and I lost 177. Wow. Right now I'm sporting some menopause weight. We're trying to learn such life, but I lost 177 pounds, super trim, and that was just by getting healthy. And so as I've been learning more, and I'm also a Red Cross instructor. I forgot to tell you about that too. Wow. So the idea is I felt like I was saved for a reason. I had taught special education. I was a volunteer EMT. My focus was always on helping people. And the more I learned about what's going on behind the scenes, the angrier I'm going to say I got, in the sense of feeling like I have to do something. Mm-hmm. And now I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I'm already getting into the menopause here. I want to have a good life, right? And I've worked so hard with overcoming so many things with this condition, and then comorbid conditions, and then this happens and that happens. And fortunately, my education and my training has adapted me to bob and weave through this process. But as I see what's happening in the world, there's a part of me that once I hit that 50, I'm now in the place of this. We are not going down this timeline, people. Absolutely not. I have worked my booty off to get to a place where I can finally sit down on the rocking chair on the porch and watch the birds. Okay, like that is my eventual goal. Right. I'm not having all this taken away from me and telling me that I have to run and I have to know how to prepare for a sanctuary city. Excuse me, right. I'm not doing it. So I chose this episode because this is part of my mission of how do I help prepare the next generation. People my age, yes, okay, maybe they're interested in life transformation, but if it's not coming from within them, and it's something that or maybe an incident that's occurred in their life that's really, like the proverbial slap in the face to say, you must change your ways. Mm-hmm. There's not a whole lot that's going to happen there. But as far as our younger generation, that's what I've been saying all along. I create teaching tools for adults as well as children. Anybody that is eager and hungry for the information, I've created teaching materials in a way that is fun. And that's why I say digestible, with my materials, so that people can apply and understand. If I said to you, let's talk about Ayurveda, what's your dosha? Are you Vata, Pitta, Kapha? Like, depending, most of the audience is just like, I just tuned you out. I don't know what you're talking about and I don't care. But if I said, what's your constitution? You think you're a little fluttery hummingbird? You think you're a jaguar? Actually, I changed it. Yeah, no, jaguar. I used to have it as a cougar, but when I'm that type, and I was like, I'm single. I said, I can't call myself a cougar. So I changed that to jaguar in my system. Or are you a big cuddly bear that, you love till, and you will protect, if pushed and provoked. And so I created this system so that people can understand how it could be applicable, like from Ayurveda, which is an ancient Indian alternative medicine. Anything that I found beneficial on my healing journey, I studied it to the point of certification, because I wasn't going to tell you just to go try yoga. I'm going to show you why. Is it because I want to be greedy with one-on-one clients? No, I really don't have the time. I have to teach a lot. The point is I want to speak from a place of knowledge, not only experience, but then if I'm going to share this information, I want to do it responsibly. Okay. So that somebody really does understand how to apply it to themselves. So then as a means, public speaking and motivational speaker. And I found that having visual aids was also another wonderful way to communicate concepts that might be concepts, whether it's Sanskrit terminology. There's too much to push us apart. So now I'm at the place of doing everything I can to, just from my little one person, I was saved for a reason. I didn't think I would ever walk again. And I screamed for days at a time because the pain was so bad. Wow. So I know that all of this, even if it's my own darn reason that I'm making it up, that I have a purpose, well, I'm walking through my days with purpose, even if it's my own purpose. Who's going to tell me I'm wrong? That's not like I'm not doing the homework. So I'm showing up, and now I'm seeing the way things are going. And I'm like, oh no, I did not army crawl to the toilet so that I can now be standing here to have to army crawl to save my life. So listening to, you know what I mean? Right? Like this is just, it's surreal of where we are at this point. And since Star Trek, I will tell you, is very predictive. And so I'm not saying that that this is going to happen. I mean, we're still waiting for transporters and whatnot to happen, but we've got a lot of the technology that they had. The idea is that I definitely feel that Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, was connected. I'm going to say, if I can say, whisper that. And he had insight. All right. There was way too much that was predictive that he discussed almost as foreshadowing to prepare us so that when it occurred, we weren't surprised by it because, I saw that 30 years ago on Star Trek. Yeah, because they were getting you ready for what was coming. Yeah. So I look at this as I don't know exactly what out of this we can expect, but I do follow a variety of, I'm going to say metaphysical speakers, but all different types of, Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, all of that whole clique. And the one thing that Greg Braden has been very, very positive, especially with the wars and everything that is going on, because they even said in there, they're like, oh, the students in France, there's an uprising, the European nation is collapsing. Like, that's what they said in the episode. It was just too many things are reflective and eerily of what's going on now. And so Greg Braden is very positive on believing that we as a people, if we come together, that we are going to be able to raise the frequency enough that we can have an impact on what kind of negativity is coming toward us, and to take it, a step further into the rabbit hole of there is a discussion as far as we're in Kali Yuga. It's a time period. The time period is supposed to be shifting. There was actually a battle between good and evil, negative energies, and good won. And right now, negative is what's holding on by just like its fingernails, and it's being pulled away. And it's trying to do as much destruction as it can on its way out. And we can either buy into the negativity and believing that it's our reality, or believe that it's literally on its way out, and shift our perspectives. And if you've ever seen, I don't know if you've ever watched Lee Harris Energy, he's a channeler, and he channels a group of entities called the I think it's the peas. Either it's the peas or the Z's. Two people channel. One does the peas, the other does the Z's. But I think he channels. I don't know. It's the peas or the Z's. And so, he was channeling them, and they said the good news is that right now all we need is 30% of the earth to wake up, to illuminate themselves. And right now we're at 24%. So I did the math and I was like, we only need 420 million people to wake up, to shift their perspective and believe that we're capable of achieving so much more. And instead of going through the Bell riots, that we can come out on the other end of it with that knowledge and that growth of, we can't keep doing things this way. This is not good for society. So I've taken it upon myself to try to find some ways to talk to the inner child of adults, because this is literally how I show up in my adult classes. I have puppets and everything, and a prize box.
Oh, nice. I have a prize box.
Oh, do you?
Sorry. At school? Oh, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
See, well, I was a teacher, right? So just because we're grown up, why should we not get, like a dosha dial sticker or a bookmark or something, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing. I'm looking at this as we have to do something before we hit a point of no return with our timeline. Yeah. And I don't know what else to do, but I am darn determined to not let the outcome of what is possible and what we're seeing, to let that be our outcome. So I've made it fun and engaging, like the things that I do for adults as well as children and families to learn together. But it's basically information books of how do we survive? What foods should we be growing? How should we be growing them together? For companion planning, what nutrients do we need? What are the healing properties of these foods? So this type of information lifestyle, why do we do these particular types of practices? Which foods are good for this type of, are known for this type of, not saying it's a cure, right? Got to be careful. But what types of foods are good for illness? What types of foods are good for, yeast infection? I mean, it's in there. So this is my way of trying to disperse information so that if we have some type of cyber attack or electromagnetic pulse, my topics are pretty heavy. So this is also why I'm a colorful person. I always show up this way, but I'm just saying this is why I've chosen to continue showing up this way with the topics that I'm bringing up, because I know it's heavy. I know it can be scary. But we're not feeding into the fear. I'm empowering people with knowledge to say, you buy those chickpeas. I'll show you 12 different things to make for the breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, and snack. You will be set in Armageddon. Okay, get 12 cans. So this is how all of this, my mission, my experience, and this series and these 2 episodes ties into who and what I am, what I'm doing.
I love it. Can you, for people who listen to this and aren't watching it, I just want to talk about what we have going, what the visuals are here. You have on a lovely chef's hat.
Oh,
is it tie-dye? Yeah, because it's tie-dye.
Yes, it's tie-dye.
I love it. And you have, and it lights up.
It lights up.
And
we could also do a little bit of part-time
flashing light. Yes.
Get the disco ball going.
And you have, what would you call that? An emblem on the front? What would you call it?
Oh, yeah.
With the letters CKT.
Yes.
Which
Camp Kids Thrive.
Camp Kids Thrive. Okay. And you have behind you, it's beautiful. There is,
thank you.
It looks like it's painted on the wall, a sky, blue sky with a tree, with lights.
Tree mosaic.
Love it. And you have a dream catcher back there too, I see. Yes. Right?
My Star Trek, some of my Star Trek stuff. So a 3D printed bat laugh and a 3D printed Enterprise cookie cutter. So that was somebody trying to impress me on the first date. And let me tell you, I was impressed. You show up with something like that, forget the flowers. I want the bat laugh, man.
Was there a second date?
It was a second date, but nothing after that. It was just, that was the only thing in common. So it's all good. It's all good. So yeah, so I've got just some stuff hanging in the tree here. And so just some So this is one of the corners of the little cabin here. This is the main cabin at the retreat center. And then, yes, these are my games. So these are all of the games that
about this.
I've invented.
Excellent.
So these are, oh, please.
No, and are these games for, I mean, obviously adults can play them, but geared toward children or both?
Both.
Okay.
This is specifically for children. So this is the daily routine. So for yoga instructors that are looking to expand their offering for after school programs, I've created a whole for nutrition. So they could play this one. This, they can learn about the daily routine as far as like from an Ayurvedic perspective, yogic perspective. And then this one down here, Farmer's Market, that is also a game. So adults can play, I would say it's geared more toward children because the images are more toward, they have childish images. These two are specifically for adults, the Dosha Dial Trivia Game and the Dinacharya Daily Routine. These are Ayurvedic games. So for students, or if somebody is offering a course, or people, they just want to learn basic. What do I eat? How do I poop better? You know, how can I sleep through the night? They can offer these games as a means to form.
I just love that. Sorry to interrupt. I love that you have it in a game form. It's just the best way to learn. It's great.
And this is what I've been using with my students. And this is the feedback that I've been getting is, oh my gosh, I'm a visual learner. Thank you. Now I understand. And so everything has been laid out as, like I said, to be easily digestible. And then I have dice games and then other games as far as measurements. And then this is the first. They had yoga dice and things of that nature, but Yogaminos, it's a sequencing game. This is the first yoga sequencing game ever. These are the first Ayurvedic games ever. Okay, in the whole world.
That's amazing.
Yes.
The yoga sequencing dominoes, is it poses? Like the sequence of poses, like sun salutation or something?
Okay, look
at this. It might be hard for me to see, by the way, because of the blur. Oh, I see it.
Color-coded to the kosha, showing the chakras, saying which dosha it's good for, and then the vayus. And then what you do is you play it out of, if I played this card, now you have to continue in the flow. And you have to do it in under 3 cues. Otherwise, you need a flow. Oh man, where is it? A flow card. If it's like, if you have 5 cues to give to the next transition, you need to use your flow card. And then you might pull a prop. So how do you use, eye pillow or sandbag or balls? Okay, so thank you so much. So, and then I numbered it so that because during the pandemic, then this way people could play with their students on Zoom. And instead of, they're still learning the asanas, they may not know which one's downward dog, card X, card 7.
Right. Yeah.
So then they could, and that's how they also learn. Recipe rummy, we learn how to make recipes, food combining, then it all says Ayurveda in there, and then another Ayurveda and another Ayurveda, but this one's a lot of fun, called What's for Dinner? And we take our recipe cards, because we know we hear this one for the whole rest of our life, right?
Yeah.
What's for dinner? And so I throw this card out and it says, this ingredient can be used to make bread. And up here it says, it'll make it to make it rise. The balloon. Yeah, it's that kind of humor. And
I love it.
I'm sorry, the whole thing is like dad jokes.
That's okay.
So, and then you could play your food cards. And then this way it gives adults and children alternative ways to think about, especially if we're going to start losing our restaurants and issues with farming and crops, supply and demand. The thing is I'm also trying to get people to think about other ways of, wow, how many, because I'm a kapha, like I'm that jaguar mind, but my body, it's kapha, it gains weight. It's like a bear, right? So I want to know 87 different ways to make cake when Armageddon comes, right? So what all ingredients can we use? Beans, rice, I'll take it all. As long as I have cacao, I'm good, right? So, but I'm trying to get people's mindset to start to shift to think about how other ways they can use the foods. So I have that, and then I have color-coded Ayurveda. So the whole practice, and so I have a whole workbook that goes along, and then I have, oh my gosh, I have several books, and then I have an oracle deck and a space oracle deck. My father is an astrophotographer, so I took his images and I made an oracle deck.
Wow. That's awesome.
With his images. Thank you. So it's just different ways, but the way I wrote out this book for the Oracle deck, it's a life coaching book. So it has many useful tools of how to deal with circumstances in life. And all of this has been created as an entire shout-outs line to help people survive if we go offline.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we're online, how can we have color-coded spices? Mm-hmm. And then are they good for a little hummingbird? Are they good for a bear? So that's on there. And then also the terpenes. And terpenes are the healing properties are found in cannabis, but they're also found in foods. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so using the understanding the terpenes and right spices tells you the healing properties in that spice. So this way you don't have to look through your book. You just look at your sticker and then you say there are other stickers that, the properties and benefits. Wow. So it'll say right on there, it's an analgesic, it's an antiemetic, an anti-inflammatory. So instead of looking through books of which one, little Tommy has a cold. Yeah. Pull out your spices, look at the stickers and see which ones are commonly used. Not saying it's a cure. I'm just saying what it's known for. We have to be very careful online. You know what I'm talking about. Yes. And then so for the essential oils also, so that it shows it's upside down, all the chakras, whether it's heating or cooling. So then again, a workbook, a color-coded workbook to explain what does that mean. If it's good for the throat chakra, well, what other healing properties does it have, perhaps because it relates to the throat chakra? Mm-hmm. So I've been creating these teaching tools, and now I'm putting it all into a program. And what I'm working on right now is to set up certification I'm starting with yoga instructors, kids yoga instructors. Anybody's welcome to join the program, especially homeschooling parents or whomever is interested in learning. But my intention is, how do we get this information of having fun, saying, wow, I didn't know chickpeas could be made into treats and brownies and blondies. And how do we communicate that information? And right now, the group that I see are the kids yoga instructors that they're going to those locations, and they can disperse this information and this knowledge to empower people to think outside of the box that we've been put into, because now survival is going to be required outside of the box. Right. And I thank you so much for this platform to allow me to share all of this.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Go on. I love this. Thank you.
So cool. Where can people, if they don't take a course, can they still access the games and the books?
Yes. So they, right now, I have several websites, and I'm literally in the process of getting everything set up. So I have Camp Kids Thrive. They can come watch videos on YouTube I just did a video about chickpeas. Okay, so this is why it's on the mind, and the many different ways, the uses of it, which types of medical conditions it's good for, and which it's not. So some people should actually avoid. Okay, so I go through all of that. So those types of videos, they can watch those on YouTube, Camp Kids Thrive. On Instagram, I've only put up 3 pictures. You'll see this on the Instagram page. You know you're at the right spot. And as far as dosha dial, the Ayurveda stuff, I think if it's all right with you, once the video is up, I would be happy to, if you want to pin it in the comments, to have
and I'll put
links or
I put in the description, everything in the description, and in the comment too. Yeah, whatever.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'll make sure you have that information. So, but now, so everything will be for sale because of shipping issues. I'm no longer working with China. I'm interviewing companies in the United States to see that they can provide, because I've already created all this. Now I have to find manufacturers here. So, shipping war, the whole thing. So we're in the process of that while the website is going up. But yes, all of these games will be available and books for purchase as themselves. But if somebody is looking for more information to learn, well, how do I use these? Follow on YouTube. It's free. Subscribe, and they'll get lots of information there. And then also the website, Camp Kids Thrive.
Love it. Absolutely love it. It's funny.
Thank you.
I just have to mention about the chickpeas. So I work for a school. I'm a speech pathologist, elementary school. And every once in a while, like I'd say every couple weeks, there'll be chickpeas on the menu made in a way that I'm like, what? Like they had them with like maple syrup and cinnamon. The first time I saw it, I was like, because I do the well, actually now I only do the announcements once a week. I used to do them every day with my friend. And so we read the lunch and I'm always like, chickpeas with cinnamon and maple syrup. Okay. Like I always feel like, and it's just so funny that you're mentioning the chickpeas. I mean, I know they're good for you. And I'm like, our school is like, we're
that is really
adding
impressive.
Something healthy. Yeah. And they do it another way too. And now I can't remember, but I think there's like 2 different ways and they like make them crispy. I believe they're crispy. I have to try them now, of course, but so I just wanted to point that out.
You really?
I mean, I eat chickpeas cold. I don't really care. I like chickpeas, so, but
okay. Well, then I'm gonna share this with you and leave this with your audience. Okay, so chickpeas, you need to cook them, and even though when they come in a can, they go through a heating process. We don't know this. We're not taught this. But what happens is they have them something called phytates, which are anti-nutrients. So when you eat it, it could actually be blocking like your iron or blocking your vitamin K. And you're like, I'm doing something good. I'll put chickpeas on my salad. And then you're like, wow, you just didn't get any of the nutrients from that salad. I'm totally making that up. And it's, hyperbole. But the point is, this is how I teach, so it sticks, right? The idea is you think you're doing something good for yourself, and then you find out. So one is to cook them. Okay, so to make sure that they're thoroughly cooked, because then until now yes, but chickpeas are very versatile. They are actually for like diets of low histamine diet. If you've ever heard of a low FODMAP diet, a SIBO diet, there's definitely an allowance where in other cases, other beans aren't necessarily safe. Chickpea is one of those that you can get away with. So something else to look into is chickpea pasta. You're also going to up your gassy factor if you're changing out wheat stuff for bean stuff, right? Because, I feel a lot okayer with binging on a black bean or, a chickpea blondie. Right. But in the end, if I've eaten like a half a can of beans, it wasn't, you know what I mean? Like we think, I could do a little more because it's healthy, right? But, ramifications, we have to be aware of the base food. So, chickpeas are definitely one of those. And I would say, please, if you get an opportunity to try the roasted ones, because they're an amazing snack. So they roast them in the oven, toss them, with some seasoning, and then coat it. So they're going to be like crunchy little, like cinnamony, cinnamon bun kind of crunchy snack. So I think you will go for it. Yeah. So, and hummus, I mean, how could we even like chickpeas hummus? I mean, just the best food ever.
It's good.
So I'm glad to hear that the school system is up on that, and that's other information I'm trying to get out to people is how can we swap out foods that we're used to. I mean, I was over 300 pounds. I lost 177 pounds. How did I do that? I had to go from breaking up with Ben and Jerry, right? Sending them on their way, and then steaming carrots and making hummus and making that, my most awesome snack instead. Yeah. And so that's the other information that I try to communicate, but it can be fun. So, and that's what I want to show you is it can be fun.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. I think that's all my questions. I just really enjoyed talking with you. I love what you're doing. It's amazing.
Thank you.
I hope everybody checks you out.
Thank you so much. And I hope everybody checks you out too. I love what you're doing. This is so much. It's a lot of fun to be able to share in something that's personal to somebody. And then to use that as a leeway of what they're doing now. So thank you so much for what you're doing, for having me on. I saw the one with Chris.
Chris Rack, yes.
Yes, that's where we met. In his class.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you, Jackie. Thank you for everything. Thank you for allowing me to share my message and my mission with people. And heads up, and Star Trek. My gosh, if you stuck with it this long, thank you, man.
Yes, I will tell all those anti-Trekkies out there, you should watch some shows, because I think it's because they haven't watched.
Exactly what it is.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening and watching, and hopefully I'll see you again. All right. Bye.
Bye.